Caitlin Clark was one heck of a basketball player, but what I did not know was that Caitlin Clark, yes folks, is a time traveler herself.
Caitlin Clark just sent shockwaves through the WNBA. After weeks of silence, non-stop speculation, and growing tension, the news fans have been begging for his finally official, she's back. But why now? What shifted behind the scenes? And can her return truly rescue the Indiana Fever's season? One thing is clear, Clark's comeback changes the entire landscape. For weeks, vague injury reports, closed practices, and organizational silence left fans in the dark. Then came the announcement, and overnight, the balance of the league tilted. The WNBA's biggest star is stepping back onto the floor, and the ripple effects are already being felt by opponents, sponsors, and broadcasters alike. This isn't just a player returning from injury, it's momentum, playoff hopes, and the reawakening of a franchise. Before Clark went down, Indiana's offense lived and died through her scoring and playmaking. Without her, they looked lost, scrambling to find an identity. Now, her imminent return has injected new life into the team and their fan base. But the million-dollar question remains, is she truly ready at full strength? That's what makes this moment electric. Fans are buzzing, rivals are uneasy, and the league is holding its breath, because a healthy Caitlin Clark doesn't just play the game, she transforms it. But Clark's return doesn't come without risk, and that's what makes this moment so compelling. Her path back has been anything but smooth. What should have been her breakout season turned into a grueling fight with her own body. First came the nagging groin injury that benched her when Indiana needed her most, fueling debates about whether she was being properly protected given the heavy contact she's absorbed all year. Just as hope of a return grew, another setback hit, a painful bone bruise in her left ankle during solo workouts in early August. Overnight, her comeback timeline went from uncertain to unpredictable. Fans, analysts, even fellow players all asked the same question, would she even play again this season? Rehab became more than just physical, it was a mental battle too. The weight on Clark's shoulders is unlike anything we've seen in years. She's carrying the expectations of the Fever, their fan base, and arguably the entire WNBA. Every day she missed only heightened the anticipation and the scrutiny. Was Indiana being cautious enough? Was she rushing back too soon? Yet through all of it, Clark's resilience has brought her here. And by all reports, she's been sharp in practice, setting the stage for a comeback that could define not just her season, but the league itself. The question now isn't if Caitlin Clark is returning, it's whether she can still play at the level that made her the most talked about name in basketball. While she was sidelined, the Indiana Fever were left fighting for survival. Their guard depth collapsed as Ari McDonald, Sydney Colson, and Sophie Cunningham all went down with injuries, forcing the team to patch holes just to stay afloat. Without Clark's scoring punch and playmaking vision, Indiana's offense sputtered, often looking outclassed against the league's top contenders, and yet, here's the remarkable part, the Fever refused to fold. Kelsey Mitchell and Nalissa Smith rose to the challenge, delivering gutsy performances and grinding out wins few believed they could pull off. Played with grit, heart, and desperation. But it still wasn't enough to push them into true playoff contention. That's why Clark's return is bigger than just one player coming back from injury. It's about restoring balance to a roster stretched to its limit. Indiana has been climbing uphill without her. Now, with their franchise centerpiece set to return, the Fever have a chance to redefine their identity and rewrite their season. The truth is simple, their postseason hopes are fragile, hanging by a thread. But with Clark back in uniform, that thread just got a whole lot stronger. From this point forward, every possession matters. Every win could be the difference between sneaking into the playoffs or heading home early. So the real question is, can Caitlin Clark's return provide the spark Indiana desperately needs for a late-season turnaround? That's the gamble the Fever are making, and it sets up one of the most intriguing stretches of basketball this year. If you want proof that Indiana is gearing up for Clark's comeback, just look at their roster moves. Fever recently cut Kara Lambert, who had been signed on a 7-day contract to plug holes in the backcourt. She logged just 4 seconds before being waived, a move that caught attention around the league. But when you peel it back, the strategy is clear. Lambert wasn't expected to be a long-term solution. Her signing was simply about buying time until Clark was ready. Releasing her this early sends one unmistakable message: Indiana believes Clark's return is imminent. Meanwhile, Odyssey Sims has carved out a bigger role. In a recent game, the veteran logged 42 minutes, showing she can steady the backcourt and provide leadership while Clark works her way back. Sims isn't just a stopgap, she's a safety net, someone who can handle pressure when Clark isn't on the floor. Taken together, these moves show a calculated approach. Indiana isn't scrambling, they're positioning themselves for the exact moment their superstar steps back on the court. Indiana is positioning itself for maximum flexibility the moment Caitlin Clark is cleared. With just 9 games left, every roster spot carries weight, and the Fever front office knows it. This wasn't a random move, it was calculated. They're preparing to put the ball back in Clark's hands and want the roster primed to amplify her impact the instant she steps on the court. So the question becomes, when is Caitlin Clark actually coming back? That's the million-dollar mystery. Insider reports and scheduling suggest the most likely window falls between August 22nd and 26th, with the Seattle Storm matchup circled as a potential return date. The timing seems ideal. An extended break gives Clark precious days to ramp up conditioning without missing key games. Head coach Stephanie White has even hinted that Clark has been taking part in full contact practices, typically the last checkpoint before game clearance, but nothing is guaranteed. Bone bruises are unpredictable, and the Fever can't afford to jeopardize her long-term health by forcing the issue. That's why the next few days feel so critical. Do they push for an early return to fuel a playoff surge? Or play it safe and hold her out until she's truly 100%? And here's where it gets interesting. The decision they make could determine not only the Fever's postseason fate, but the narrative of the entire WNBA season. Every game from here on out is critical. The Fever are running out of time to climb into playoff contention, which means they need Caitlin Clark back on the floor sooner rather than later. But one wrong step could unravel everything for her and for the franchise. All signs point to a late August return, but until Indiana makes it official, fans will be holding their breath. Whenever it happens, one thing is certain: Clark's first game back will feel like a playoff atmosphere from the opening tip. For Clark, though, this comeback is bigger than just stepping onto the court. It's about safeguarding her future. She's already proven she's one of the most electrifying offensive forces in the WNBA, but the risk versus reward equation here is massive. Push too soon, and she risks aggravating the injury in a way that could alter the arc of her career. Wait too long, and the Fever's season could slip away before she even has the chance to make an impact. That's the tightrope she's walking. This moment is also about legacy. Clark isn't just another rising star, she's the face of a franchise and, in many ways, the face of the WNBA. Every move she makes is magnified. Every game is dissected. Expectations are sky high, and fans want her to pick up right where she left off. But that's easier said than done after weeks away from live action. Conditioning, rhythm, and chemistry with teammates will all be tested immediately. Still, if there's one thing we know about Caitlin Clark, it's that she thrives when the pressure is at its peak. We've seen it before, like her 32-point-7 three-pointer explosion against the Liberty in her last return from injury. The question now is simple: can she do it again? This comeback isn't just about salvaging the Fever's season. It's about proving, once again, that Caitlin Clark carries the weight of expectations better than anyone in the league. Clark's return doesn't just lift Indiana, it shakes the entire WNBA. Her presence shifts playoff dynamics, forces opposing defenses to completely rework their game plans, and changes how every matchup is covered nationally. The numbers tell the story. She leads the Fever in both assists, 8.8, and points, 16.5, this season. Nearly every possession draws a double team, opening clean looks for her teammates and raising the ceiling of the entire offense. Without her, Indiana has struggled to crack 75 points per game. With her, that number climbs dramatically, but her impact is bigger than the scoreboard. Wherever Clark plays, attendance surges. Broadcasters rearrange schedules to put Fever games in primetime. Sponsors increase their stakes because they know she drives engagement like no one else in the sport. That's why her return feels less like a routine comeback and more like a league-wide event for opponents. The ripple effect is immediate. Coaches are forced to scheme against her unlimited shooting range, her ability to collapse defenses with drives, and her vision that turns teammates into scoring threats. In short, Caitlin Clark changes the game the second she steps back on the floor. In short, Caitlin Clark's return isn't just a boost for the Fever, it reshapes the competitive balance of the entire league. That's why her comeback isn't just a headline, it's the defining moment of the season. When Clark steps back on the floor, Indiana's game plan will instantly shift. Head coach Stephanie White has suggested she may start on a minutes restriction, but make no mistake, Clark will still be the engine that powers this team. Expect the Fever to lean heavily on her deep shooting to stretch defenses. Her gravity alone forces defenders beyond the arc, opening driving lanes for Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith, something Indiana has sorely missed in her absence. Off-ball actions will be key as well. Running Clark through staggered screens creates mismatches and confusion, and with her quick release, she needs only a sliver of space to punish opponents. Her impact isn't limited to offense. Defensively, Clark changes the tempo of games with her ability to spark transition opportunities. Opponents have to play more carefully, knowing that one bad pass could flip into instant points on the other end. The biggest challenge, however, will be chemistry. Clark hasn't logged major minutes with this current rotation, especially with players stepping into expanded roles while she was out. Blending her back into the lineup smoothly will be critical if Indiana wants to turn her return into a true playoff push.